You need to come closer. 'Cause I don't have any kind of camera.
Oh, nice of you to make it.
Hello.
It's amazing what people will put up with for a free dinner.
Right? How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Excellent.
Be back in a
We
second.
are live.
All right, so I won't say anything offensive.
Just letting you know.
Just live, yeah.
doing?
That okay?
Yep. No, but at the beginning, what are we starting with?
Yes.
Okay.
That okay?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom and welcome to everyone who is here in person, everybody joining us via our live stream, and welcome to the Fuller family celebrating the beginning of Rose's Bat Mitzvah weekend. Wonderful. So as we do that, we'll turn together to page 2 and we'll invite the Fullers forward to light our Shabbat candles. Page 2. So as you push this forward and push the... There you go.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who had kindled light. So may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kadoshnu v'tzivanu l'hadlinu Shabbat.
Yasher Koach, Mazel Tov. We're looking forward to celebrating with all of you tomorrow morning. We'll begin with a song that's not actually in our prayer book, but you'll pick it up pretty quickly. Hevenu Shalom Alechem, peace and kindness and the wonderful parts of Shabbat will come to us soon.
Forgot I was wearing it. Hevenu Shalom Alechem, Alechem, Hevenu Shalom, Hevenu Shalom Alechem, Alechem, Hevenu Shalom. Hinei matzon u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei matzon u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hevenu Shalom Alechem, Alechem, Hevenu, Alechem, Hevenu, Alechem, Hevenu Shalom.
We turn together to page 20 as we continue to welcome Shabbat into our hearts, as we welcome our Shabbat bride.
Lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zal
Nekavela Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala P'nei Shabbat Nekavela
Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha
Ihi Mekor HaBeracha Merosh Mikerem Pesucha Sof Maaseh v'machshava techila Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala P'nei Shabbat Nekavela Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala P'nei Shabbat Nekavela Boi v'shalom Ateret ba'ala Gam b'simcha u'b'tzola Toch emunei am segula
Boi kala Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala P'nei Shabbat
Nekavela
Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala P'nei Shabbat
Please be seated, and we'll continue with Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, a song, a psalm for Shabbat, page 22.
Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat Tov lehodot l'Adonai Uzamer l'shimcha elyon Uzamer l'shimcha elyon Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat Tov lehodot l'Adonai Uzamer l'shimcha elyon Uzamer l'shimcha elyon להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות עלי אסור ועלי נבל עלי היגיון בחינם מזמור שיר ליום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני וזמר לשמך עליון וזמר לשמך עליון.
And on page 24, we join in Shalom Aleichem, those words of welcome and blessing. May peace be on you, and on you may there be peace.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, malachim hakadosh baruch hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech, malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu.
We turn together to page 26, and we rise for Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadav, yitkadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'almad yivarach chirutei ve'amlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael bagala u'v'zman kariv b'meru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevorach le'olam ulal me'amaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitvar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudasha barichu le'la min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma yimeru amen. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed. Please be seated, and we'll continue with Ma'ariv Aravim, thanking God for the wonders and the miracles of creation, page 30. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim, b'chokhmah poteach sha'arim, uvitvuna meshaneh itim umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem berakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uven layla, Adonai tziva'ot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Page 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Ahavat olam made Yisrael amechavta amechavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta, Otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu, v'kumeinu nasiach bechukecha. Then yismach b'divrei Toratecha, uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem negei yomam v'layla negei yomam v'layla ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olam
I'd like to invite Rose forward to lead us in Shema and V'ahavta. Okay, please rise.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod, Malachuto Leolam Va'ed.
No, not you. You can tell them to please be seated.
Please be seated. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levavecha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol miondecha, v'chayu hadvarim cha'elak, asher anochi mizavcha chayom al levavecha, v'shimnam tam levanecha, v'ribarta. Baum b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlektecha, v'aderek, uvshak becha uvkubecha uvshaktam layot ayidecha. V'chayu letotafot bein einecha, uktevtam al mizuzot beitecha, uvish arecha. Lema antis kuru v'asitem, et kol mitzvotai v'item, kadoshim le'elohechem, ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeti etchem me Eretz Mitzrayim liot lechem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Adonai Elohechem emet. Yasher koach. How does it feel?
Good.
Good. Good. She's like, what do you mean? I want to get out of here. So, Rose, before we let you go, I want to explain a little bit about tonight. And I want you to help me. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we've practiced this for a while, right? Okay. Now, we haven't talked a lot about, but what does it mean, right? And the first word says,
You shall love.
you shall love, right? And who are we supposed to love?
Adonai.
Great, Adonai. And is it weird to give somebody like an order that says, you have to love that? Is that weird? It's a little bit weird, right? You can say
Yeah.
yes. Okay, good. Work with me here. Good. Okay. But it's about loving God. And clearly that love for God is in a different mode than the love that we have for parents or family or loved ones or people. That love is different. That has a different form, a different kind of love. And in fact, it's listed right underneath it of what we have to do. That we think about God whenever we do things. When we get up in the morning, when we go to sleep at night, when we walk along the way, when we do our work, all of those kinds of things are all involved with thinking about God's role in the world. And this weekend, we have the opportunity to celebrate the Imgard Baum Scholar in Residence Weekend. So you're part of this amazing weekend. But I bet you don't know much about who Mrs. Baum was. Right. So we're gonna learn a little bit about her, because she was a pretty amazing lady. She was a Holocaust survivor, somebody who escaped Europe in the late, or really, just as the Nazis were coming into power. And she eventually ended up here in Erie, where she took on lots of different roles here at Temple. And just like the V'ahavta teaches us that we think about who we are and our connections to Jewish life, Imgard thought about her connections in lots of important ways too. Because she was responsible for setting up several different kinds of endowments. Endowments that support our high holiday music, youth philanthropy, helping young people. So maybe for confirmation or something like that, we'll pull I don't think that has happened in a number of years, right? That youth philanthropy process. But it's an opportunity to have people like you decide where we should help others. Would that be interesting to you?
Yeah.
Good answer. A lot of adult education through our scholar in residence programs. And she also had a vision of trying to be helpful to the world. And so part of that was her vision to try to help the Arava Institute in Israel, which has become a leader in not only Israeli environmental causes, but also all over the world. And so we'll learn more about the Arava Institute on Sunday morning when we have the opportunity to learn and be with Tariq Abu Hamid, who is the executive director of the Arava Institute and is an Israeli Palestinian who has really been the first to achieve a significant post in Israeli government and politics, and has become Israel's chief scientist, which is an amazing opportunity for us to be with him and to learn from him about really some of the incredible projects and activities that are going on the ground. We often hear about the conflict, right? We hear about the conflict all over the place, and we don't hear about the good stuff. So this is an opportunity on Sunday morning at 11. Did I say Sunday morning at 11? Okay. Sunday morning at 11 here to learn about the good stuff, the really interesting, groundbreaking work that's happening between Israel and its neighbors, and to really make the whole world a better place. So, Rose, thank you so much. We're looking forward to celebrating your bat mitzvah tomorrow. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. And then you don't want to have to hang out on Zoom with me anymore as you practice. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, you can sit down. Thank you. Let's continue together on page 39, bottom of the page. Let's read together. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, osef
Malchutecha ra'u vanecha bokeh yam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze Eli va'anu va'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar, ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, v'golo miyad chazak mimenu, baruch ata Adonai, ga'al Yisrael. Page 43. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will.
Baruch atah Adonai haborei sukat shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch atah Adonai haborei sukkot shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
We are people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. We join together in Vishamru, page 44.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beni uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ubayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam.
Page 47. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. We rise together for Amidah, page 46.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, ומביא גאולה לפני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב והושיע, מוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, קדושים בכל יום יהלוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Please be seated, and we continue, page 53. Days pass, and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see, wherever we gaze, that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. Let's join together. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands, you are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us, so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lecha na'eh lehodot. And let's continue together, page 61 at the top. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata Atahu melech Adom, lechol hashalom, shalom rav Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom rav Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amecha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom rav Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom rav Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam.
We take a few moments for those prayers that in our hearts and in our minds, some moments of quiet, some moments of silent prayer.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פיו, יהיו לרצון אמרי פיו, והגיון ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי וגואלי. Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart, be acceptable before you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Oseh shalom bimromah, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael, ve'imeru, ve'imeru.
We turn together to page 253. And we think of all those in our world who need a blessing of healing. All those who struggle, all those whose lives are in turmoil, all those who are facing recovery of illness of some form or another. Healing of body, of mind, of heart, of spirit. In our congregation, we especially think of Jacob Adams, Pat Hanna, Doug Ford, Steve Toddleman, Michael Goldman, Linda Lyons, Merv Weinman, Diane Levy, Joan Rosenthal, Frank Fusaro, Katie Alaya, Renee Goldman, Phil DiFrancesco, Jake Kaler, Debbie Perry, Amy Doherty, Dick Metcalf, the Graziano family, Jeannie Neibauer, Julie Matthews, Dane Marcinowski, Maggie Lee, Noyak Grinberg, Stacy Mason, Bridget Mueller, Andy Green, and Robin Lewis. If you're joining us via live stream, please, and if you'd like to enter or add a name, please enter it into our chat box. If you are here in person, as I look around and you would like to share a name, please do so. We join together in our prayer for healing.
Mi sheberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. As our scholar in residence this weekend, I have the honor to welcome and introduce somebody who really doesn't need an introduction. Our very, very own Dr. Eric Pallant, professor of environmental science and sustainability at Allegheny College, and author of this wonderful, wonderful recently published book, Sourdough Culture, A History of Bread Making. And if the title doesn't get you to read the book alone, it's a brilliant, did you come up with the title? It's brilliant. Okay. And more importantly, a longtime member of Temple and frequent contributor to lots and lots of our experiences, including brilliant insights on Torah study on Saturday mornings. And so looking forward to Eric sharing his wisdom with us this evening. Please.
Thank you, first and foremost, for... Thank you.
Otherwise they can't hear you.
Yeah, thank you for... Thank you. For putting me in the right place, for the honor, the overwhelming honor of being the Irmgard Baum Scholar. Irmgard was a hero of mine in life and death, and somebody to whom I look up to. And now I am in the unenviable position. Just think about the challenge of having to follow Rose, go Meadville, and stand between you and dinner. And so I have to get this right. So I want to try to bring together my perception of history and archaeology and Jewish history and Torah, and where they match up a little bit, both in terms of storytelling and geography. And so I'm going to start with the weather forecast for Erie roughly 10,000 years ago. which was not very different than what it might be in a January day here. 10,000 years ago, the forecast begins. The ice is finally gone, right? So we were under a mile of ice here in Erie, and starting about 12 or 10,000 years ago, the ice is receding, but the temperature here is frigid. The weather is awful. It is not much growing, not much happening. And now I want to move you to Israel and the forecast for the same day. The very south of Israel, the Arava Institute, which we will be hearing about over the course of the weekend, the forecast is dry, but the ice ages also are receding. There was not ice in the southern parts of Israel, but it was cold before 10,000 years ago. And starting 10,000 years ago, the weather is going to change. And you'll notice already I've started 10,000 years ago and not 5,782 years ago. So we're already at a distinction about what is history. But in the Arava Desert, which is not what you think of in terms of the Sahara Desert, though it is an extension of the Sahara Desert, there are not sand dunes, but rock, nothing but rock. And if you don't know what you're looking at, you're just looking at beige stone everywhere. The winds have been so strong, they have cleared out all of the sand, they have cleared out all of the soil. It seems like a very difficult place to live, and yet, this is going to be, if you know what you're looking at, and Uzi Avner, an archaeologist extraordinary, who took Susan and me and my two children on a trip that I will never forget, brought us out to the middle of the Arava Desert. Let me tell you how dry is the Arava Desert. Erie, by contrast, gets how much precipitation a year? 40 inches or so. In a good year, the Arava Desert gets 2 centimeters of rain. And the amount of water that would evaporate, given the intensity of the sun in the Arava Desert, would be 18 feet of water, no matter how large the pool. That's how much evaporation. It is a terrible place to live. And yet, this is going to be, as Uzi Avner showed us, once you know what you're looking at, it is not just rock and stone. Let's look at some of the rocks and stones that are there. All right? What you can see if you look up this valley over here, this valley on the ground, is a wall of stones only this high. Somebody has taken the time a long, long time ago to lay out stones this high every 30 feet or so up the valley. Why? Because when it did rain that 1 inch, those stones held back the water, they held back the soil, and it was a place where seedlings could grow. And if you know what you're looking at, you would find another area out there where all the stones have been cleared and the ground is as smooth as can be. It's a perfect place to set up your tent if you are a wandering proto-Jew. Okay? If you look a little closer, there is a floor where we can lay out those seeds that have grown behind those little dams, harvest the seeds, lay them out, and they will dry. And over here is a little round area where we had domesticated animals walking around in circles, crushing the seeds, removing them from their shells. And then those seeds were stored in stone cabinets, chinked so tight that a mouse or a gerbil could not get in. And so it's a place where you could store seeds, say, for, suppose somebody came up to you and say, I suggest you store seeds for 7 years because we're going to have 7 years of plenty followed by 7 years of drought.
I've heard this story.
You have, right? Because it is a good place, and a good place to start to think about being Joseph or to be Abraham. Because also out here in this desert are what somebody has to show you. The first one is what's called a mesoboth, a standing stone. Might be this high, might be this high, and it's just standing there on end. Who would take the time to put up a stone in the middle of the desert? Lots of them. And what do they mean when you look at the bottom of the stone and discover it looks black, sort of burnt? What's going on? Somebody has made a burnt offering at the base of this stone. And this is, now watch closely, here we are in the Arava Desert, the end of the Ice Age. We're starting to cultivate the very first plants. And until this point, other people were cultivating plants. And if you wanted those plants to grow, you prayed to a god of the crops, and you prayed to a rain god, and you prayed to a soil god and a weather god and all that. And what did those gods look like? They were round with voluptuous figures, right, that you really made an offering to and hoped. And here in the Israeli desert is something that doesn't look like anything. It's an inanimate God. It's the invention of what's going to become a religion where God is not a little figurine. Let's smash those old idols. And we're going to create a God that can be represented simply by a stone, or maybe an idea. That God could be represented by a stone, or an ark, or a series of words that are given on Mount Sinai, which is not very far from the Arava Desert. And so what we have in this one place is a kind of development of humanity and a development of what's going to become Judaism, religion, as we know it, a monotheistic religion with a single God who can't be seen, who we have to imagine, who we make an offering to at the base of a stone. We maybe be able to take it with us in the form of an ark. We're going to tame crops to grow where we want. We're no longer going to be nomads or Bedouin or wandering Jews. We're going to grow them in those little fields where we want them to grow. And we're going to harvest them and store them. And we're going to train specific animals like cats to scare away the gerbils, and dogs to bark when a leopard is coming by, and little boys to take their sticks and swing them at something other than their sisters, but to swing them at birds that are coming to take their crops. Okay? And so we have a new way of living, where the invention of agriculture, the invention of a single invisible God who's going to look over us, are all taking place in the same place. And now, because I have to, we have a kind of domestication of plants and animals that are going to be, this is no longer a wild bird, but a chicken. This is going to make eggs for us. This is the place where we find the very first domesticated sheep and goats and pens made of stone to keep them in, and leopard traps. I had to ask, like, how do you trap a leopard that's coming to eat your little lambs? You actually make a box with a stick and a string, which is how they did it. You put some, like, gerbil on the inside and pull the string when the leopard goes on the, to go eat the gerbil. All of this shows up in the desert that looks just like rock. So, let me ask you, we've now developed the first breads in the world are going to appear here in the Middle East, in the southern parts of Israel, in the northern parts of Israel, in the Sea of Galilee. We see the first archaeological evidence of domestication of animals, of crops, of food and breads. And here I want to make my own little addition, the domestication of little microscopic organisms that nobody knows about. And these are little yeast and bacteria. There are some nasty ones, little microscopic organisms for which we all have to wear our masks to protect ourselves, but there are some very nice ones. So, for example, if I take a mash, grind up my wheat seeds, my rye seeds, my barley seeds, and I add some water and I leave them out for 3 days, they will be involved with yeast and bacteria and start to bubble away, And you don't have to be Jewish to like rye bread. This is going to be the beginning of rye bread. All right, if I take goat's milk or sheep's milk and leave it out in the desert sun for a day, what do I get? Yogurt or labana. If you've been to the Middle East, you're going to get labana, which is even better. Okay, if I take a fig or a pomegranate or a grape and I leave it out there for now a month, little microscopic organisms are going to take that juice and make manischewitz. Right? It is going to be something that will become the partners of the Jewish people of the Middle East, of the Fertile Crescent. Now, for the several thousand years, we've domesticated the foods. We're giving them to microscopic organisms. Those microscopic organisms are fermenting and turning those things into terrific new products until such time as God says, or not God, I'm sorry, it takes time to make microscopic organisms do their work, and there comes a day when Moses says, there's no time. Right? We're not having sourdough bread this week. Okay? It is time to move, pack it up, whatever you got to make, fry it now, bake it now, put it on a hot stone, but it's only going to be this big. It is not going to be microscopic organisms having their time to do their work. Right? And it becomes a trade-off between we're going to forego God's gift of nature and microscopic organisms to make great foods in exchange for God's gift of deliverance from the land of Egypt. So just before we forget it again, I mean, these what are going to become the tribes of Israel are going to move to Israel. They are going to settle. They are going to make new cultures from cultures, right? And I went through the list of things that are Jewish and made from microscopic organisms, and this is a list. Joel, you and I, this is a machaya of a list, right? Top of the list is Slivovitz, Magen David. All of these things are made from microscopic organisms. A dill pickle, sour cream, cream cheese, bread, chocolate, coffee, corned beef, right? Tongue, pickled herring, sauerkraut, olives, challah, salami, cheesecake, right? These are all the products of little microscopic organisms. In a very short period of time, we'll say the brachot for thanking God for the gift of bread, and buried in there are the microscopic yeast that made that bread. The gift of wine, the transformation of grapes and grape juice to something far more interesting and sublime. And I'm going to add here my own blessing, or I think a blessing that's worth saying, which is a blessing for microscopic things, for the other foods that aren't these, right? Because there are a few things in the world that are more worth God's blessing than a slice of rye bread, corned beef, sauerkraut, a dill pickle. Baruch Hashem, yeah? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehakol nihiyah b'david v'arol, right? Blessed are you, God, Adonai, of the King of the universe, through whose desires, whose words, everything comes into being. And that's what it is. So, to finish up, Susan has sliced up in someplace over here. I have brought a sourdough cinnamon cranberry raisin bread, which is someplace out there. On Sunday, I'll be working with the kids from Gesher to make some, Susan will be helping me, thank God, to make special Shabbat crowns. We call them Shabbos crowns, is what they were known in my family. At 11 o'clock, I invite you back to the Arava Desert, where Dr. Tarek Abu Hamid will describe this same location where religion and domestication and yeast were all sort of created and invented. It is now the location in this very, very dry desert where Israelis, Palestinians, Jordanians, Americans, occasionally Egyptians and Africans, Muslims, Christians, Jews all come together and they're all there still because of the generosity of Irmgard Baum, who held them alive during a period when they were in grave danger of folding. Irmgard Baum really supported that place. There's a beautiful picture of Irmgard at the Arava Institute, but please come back and hear Dr. Abu Hamid talk about working together to form a new Middle East based on peace and environment and creating a future that's sustainable for everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Let's eat.
Eric Yasher Koach, you have risen us all to new heights. And that was just the crust of it. No, really, Yasher Koach, and a wonderful way of presenting this amazing area of study and of interest, and looking forward to learning more on Sunday. So we'll continue now with Aleinu, page 282. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, התהית גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ועושה ארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים עמם ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו ככתוב בתורתו וידעת היום בהשבות אל לבבך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים עמו בארץ מתחת אין עוד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Our thoughts turn now to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and of death. In our congregation, we observe Yahrzeit for Meyer Gluck, Abe Cohn, Martin Wise, Len Colas, Eliezer Goldsmith, Ernst Gartner, Anna Simon, Lester Strawn, Rachel Gottlieb, Bessie Jacobs, Edith Schwartz, Clarice Levine Warner, Matilda Maas, Leah Emmerman, Donna A. Zaks, and Hyman Castleman. If you are joining us via live stream and wish to add a name, please enter the name into our chat box. If you are here in person and would like to add a name, please do so as I look around. We rise together. We turn to Kaddish on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Ba'alma divrach v'rutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayachon uvyamechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach la'alam u'larmeh almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitneseh. V'yithadar v'yitale v'yitala shmei dekudsha b'rechu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Damiran b'yalma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Please be seated. I'd like to invite Rochelle Krowinski forward to share some announcements.
For midgets, yes. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. What an exciting weekend we have here. We have the wonderful bat mitzvah of Rose Fuller to celebrate. We're looking forward to tomorrow, Rose, and I'm sure you are too. And we have this wonderful weekend that was really a gift of Irmgard. And I know we've mentioned her name a couple times, but I think it bears repeating because she was an amazing lady that I had the privilege of meeting when I was just beginning to get involved in Temple. And she had moved here in the 90s. And of course, her generosity continues through all these many years. Irmgard was born, as Rabbi mentioned, on July 11th in 1924 in Germany. In 1941, she, her brother, and mother escaped Germany through France on a secretive darkened train transporting Jews. And at Spain's border, they crossed the Pyrenees on foot and found transport to Lisbon, Portugal. And there a steamship passage to the United States was secured for them. Family in Erie, Pennsylvania helped them begin a new life. Irmgard spent many years in New York City, but returned to Erie in 1994, and she began a new life of community and Jewish involvement, and enthusiastically became a prominent member of our temple. She passed away March 14th, 2007, and this fund that is providing this wonderful weekend for us and many others is part of her legacy. And we heard from Eric that her legacy is enormous. This fund is to be used for a scholar in residence and for funding outstanding literary figures like our own Eric Pallant, for a community presentation at Temple, and look at us this evening. How exciting it is that we're together, because the last couple of years have been, pretty daunting to say the least. But she was quoted as saying, "It is my hope that the programs at Temple Anshe Hesed, Baum Family Funds will bring to the community are stimulating events of written, spoken, and performing arts." Thank you, Irmgard. The flowers this evening are in memory of Matilda Maas and Donna Zaks. The flowers are also in honor of Rose's being called to the Torah. And Ari, I hope I'm saying this way, Bilowitz, 15th birthday. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., Rose will be called to the Torah as a bat mitzvah. Sunday at 9:30 a.m., bread making with Dr. Pallant, and at 11, special guest speaker, Dr. Tariq Abu Hamed, Executive Director of the Arva Institute. And Monday, 7:30 p.m. is book club with Eric, and in person or remote. So book club members, come gather here at the the temple for the first time in a long time, right? It's pretty exciting. And bread. Oh my God, let there be bread. Yes, all these events are in person and also via YouTube or Zoom. So again, Shabbat Shalom, and Rose, can't wait to see you tomorrow.
Thank you. Yes, you are.
Thank you.
So just so people are aware, if in fact you missed something and you'd like to watch it later, all of the programs will be available on our YouTube channel for people to listen to or watch at your pleasure. So please share that with friends. If you find something that's interesting, you can continue to do that. And we're going to conclude this evening with Od Yavo Shalom, may peace come soon.
Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu.
Od Yavo Shalom
Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kolam. Salam, 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 aleinu ve'al kolam, salam, salam.
Shabbat Shalom. Please join us in our social hall for dinner. Yasher Koach, Eric. Rose, nicely done.